in the Campus to Career series. And before that, I would like to introduce to you abpeducation.com. abpeducation.com is a website that deals in news, updates, and everything that is happening in the world of higher education, including career tips, guidance, and whatever goes on in the world of higher education, including events in education institutes abroad. We are powered by the Telegraph Online and Anandabazar.com. And now coming to the Campus to Career series and the webinar today. This started on August 12th, the Campus to Career series. And this started with the Bengal Education Leaders Summit with Mr. Partho Chatterjee, the State Education Minister, attending it. And with it, I would like to now come to today's subject of the webinar, which is Tomorrow's Tech for Tomorrow's Careers, Big Data, AI, IoT, and ML. And now coming to the panel of today's webinar. First on the panel is Professor Ajoy Kumar Ray, Padma Shri, Director, JIS Institute of Advanced Studies and Research. Professor Ray, a recipient of Padma Shri in 2017 in the Science and Engineering category, is the former Director in Indian Institute of Engineering Science. He is also former Vice Chancellor, Bengal Engineering and Science University. He has also been head School of Medical Science and Technology at IIT Kharagpur. Welcome, Mr. Ray. Next on the panel is Mr. Charanpreet Singh, founder and director, Praxis Business School Foundation. Mr. Singh has been a part of the corporate world for 20 years, has a rich experience in industries like cryogenics, steel, international trade, consulting, and IT with organizations like British Oxygen, Tata Steel, PwC, and Hewlett Packard. Welcome, Mr. Singh. Next on the panel is Professor Arun Kumar Ray, Director, School of Electronics Engineering, Kalinga Institute of Industrial Technology. He has 22 years of teaching and research experience. He is now involved both in teaching and administration. He has delivered many keynote at international and national conferences, workshops, and seminars. Welcome to you, Mr. Ray. Next on the panel is Mr. Sudeep, Distinguished Engineering Advisor, Oracle Corporation, USA. Mr. Majumdar has 20 years of diverse experience in Silicon Valley as a technology executive. He brings early insight of industry trends for specific industries and pioneers digital transformation and monetization with latest. Welcome, Mr. Majumdar. Next on the panel is Dr. Anshuman Ghosh, Senior Manager, Grab. Dr. Ghosh is a data science and strategy leader with 11 plus years of rich experience in leading tech, media, and retail companies. He is currently leading data science projects at Grab and has earlier worked with Disney, Star, Target, Wipro, and Spice. We welcome you, Mr. Ghosh. And now coming to the moderator of our session, Mr. Nandan Sengupta, College Ambassador for India, Cambridge Marketing College, United Kingdom. Mr. Nandan spent the early part of his career in B2B technology solution marketing and project management, before moving on to become a consultant with a special focus on strategic issues and digital marketing. He has around 30 plus years of experience. During the last few years, he has moved into academia with special focus on digital marketing, data analysis, digital transformation, and IoT applications. With this introduction, I would like to hand over the session to Mr. Nandan Sengupta.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Sethi. Thanks, ABP. So I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. So today, this particular session is on a particular topic, which is said as from the college to the career. And our areas, as we have defined, are big data, IoT, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, before I hand it over to our respected speakers, I would like to say just a few words just to set the stage so that we can go through this particular deliberation today very fruitfully. You know, when these are all emerging technologies. Now, whenever a technology emerges, it does two things. One is a certain vertical course of its own technology, like when, you know, it has been going on since ancient times. When pulley was invented, there was an engineer who was working on pulleys, but there were many other people who were working on the use of the pulleys in various areas. So any emerging technology has its core use and its augmented core areas and its augmented areas. Now, for our technologies of today that we are going to discuss, it's no different. It's having the same, exactly the same areas of similar areas of augmentations apart from its core area. So with this introduction, I would like to hand it over to our respected speakers, those who have been introduced already by Mr. Sethi. And so with this, I would like to request our first speaker, Professor Ajoy Kumar Roy, to take the baton, sir. Sir, you are on mute.
Yeah, very good afternoon to everybody, respected Mr. Gupta, Sen Gupta, who will be, coordinating this whole affair for the next 2 hours or so. My distinguished co-panelists and my very dear participants, for whom this very important webinar series has been organized. As a matter of fact, today it's a very sad day for me, right since yesterday, because of the demise of our former president, Sri Pranab Mukherjee. Incidentally, this is a national loss, and for me personally, he was very close, extremely close to me, and I talked to him hardly a week before he was hospitalized. So, and we used to talk to each other quite often, almost once a week. Unfortunately, I never got an opportunity to talk to him again because in the next 7 days he was hospitalized. Anyway, so yesterday I had to write for some newspapers and all, some memoirs. So I was not in a mood to take part today in today's program. But nevertheless, since Anandabazar ABP group, they have organized it and they are doing it so wonderfully, I must thank them because it is so important for all the participants. So my dear, I'm going straight to the subject, my dear students. This is an area, all the 4 disciplines which have been mentioned, they can be clubbed together in one basic area, which is known as data science. So data science is the area which combines, the data generation, the different type of, schemes of data generation, including Internet of Things, and then comes that the volume of data as it is increasing exponentially. We have got the problem of how to store the data, how to analyze the data. So for that, the very important subject on big data analytics. The third important thing is that how will you analyze it? You need in today's world machine intelligence. So AI and machine intelligence, they are more or less, machine intelligence is a part of AI. So that is an important thing. And then the fourth thing is equally important, that is the data security. So I thought that since my co-participants, co-panelists, they will be talking about the industrial aspects of it, I thought that, okay, let me give you the glimpses of these 4 disciplines and how we can, can you see the, so is it okay, or?
It is being shared, sir. I think it will be visible in a minute.
Is it visible now, this?
Not yet. No, after not. Yes, it is, sir. It is.
No? Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So let's, first of all, since we are all talking about data, because this is the time of data science. And as you all know that we have already entered the digital, environment, the digital society, almost say 2 decades back. And then during these 2 decades, last 2 decades, there had been phenomenal growth of data everywhere. So at the beginning of this year, that is 2020, the total digital universe is estimated to consist of today almost 44 zettabytes of data. 1 zettabyte is 10 to the power 21 bytes. Imagine, it's a huge amount of data. And then every day, every moment, the social media sites, the financial institutions, the healthcare facilities, the business community, the automobiles, and you talk about anything, environment, energy, every aspect of human endeavor, it is creating and generating data. And it is being estimated that by 2025, approximately 463 exabytes. So these are some of the terms which you should remember. Exabytes is again 10 to the power 18 bytes. Imagine, huge amount that will be generated. And as of June 2019, there were more than 4.5 billion people online. And I'm sure that within, the next 2-3 years, almost 90% of the global population will be online. By 2025, there would be estimated, is very important, 75 billion Internet of Things in the world today. Today, it is estimated that it is about 25 billion of IoT devices. So we'll talk about IoT devices. In fact, some of our experts also, they have been working with this. They will also discuss later on. So Google handles a staggering 1.2 trillion searches every year. Imagine the amount. And then the world spends almost $1 billion per minute on simple business. Today also I got something from Amazon. Every day somebody is sending something on Amazon. In 2019, every minute 188 million. That means almost 20 crores emails were sent every minute. And every 24 hours, 500 million tweets are tweeted on Twitter. Imagine the amount of data which is being generated in the social media sector alone. Forget about other things. Now, this data generation will continue to increase exponentially. This is very interesting and important. This is the current status. Now, why it should accelerate? It is because of the fact that now, possibly from next year even, in India also we'll be having 5G mobile communication. Already in some parts of our globe, 5G, they have come and they are they are being utilized. Even in the rest of the world, maybe that within 2-3 years, it will be now this 5G data transmission speed will go up by almost 100 times. And latency means the, the sort of delay you can say in the transmission. This will be reduced from 20 milliseconds to 1 millisecond. Imagine from 4G to 5G. And right now, 5.6 gigabytes of data, average amount of data is monthly being generated. But in the last year, in South Korea has got one of the largest concentrations of 5G customers, and they have been using 24 GB per month. And that's unimaginable. Imagine then this 5G will be leading to huge amount of data generation. And much more important than that will be the data which will be generated by the IoT devices. So this is, my dear friends, you should know what is an IoT device. An IoT device means tomorrow every device will be connected to the internet. All the gadgets that we are using, all the sensors that we are using. In fact, some of the panelists, Mr. Mojumdar, he was mentioning that he may talk on industrial IoT. Every kind of sensor that you are using anywhere will now be connected to the internet. So your dog will be connected to my dog, and then they can also speak on the internet. They can communicate. So this is very, jokingly I'm saying, but then the situation is like this. So from 25 billions, it will be in 5 years' time, it will lead to 75 billions. So many IoT devices, and they are all connected with the internet. And that really leads to lots of problems. So more exponentially the data gets generated, there will be a lot of problems, not only in where you will store this data, how will you store this data, how will you analyze that data, data analytics, and the whole lot of 4 subjects that we talked about. It only talks with about the data, and the data means that mainly, as I said, that from social media data and data which will be generated from 5G, from IoT, and from almost every sector of human endeavor. So accordingly, many of you will be interested in the job side of it, and job listings, one of the estimates was it will be around 2.7 million. That means about 27 lakhs of people will be required by 2020. That means this is for this year. And naturally, it will be much more as the time progresses. So this is New York Stock Exchange, which performs phenomenal amount of stock trading. So in business houses, they use lots and lots of this, they generate the data. So all these data, since its volume is increasing, this is in one small word known as big data. Now the data, the nature of data that we were using in the past. So you may ask that, okay, we were using the data for a long time. Computers were analyzing the data. And then there are standard database management systems. But there is a difference of the data that we are generating today and the data that we were generating yesterday. Yesterday means a couple of, even a decade back. Most of that data was structured data. Today's data that we are generating, they are both structured and most of it is known as unstructured data. What is the meaning of unstructured data? So data does not mean that only the set of numerical values. The data means much more than that. It's not only the text, it is the images. The data may contain audio signals. The data may contain video. That means, for example, 30 frames per second of one image. That may mean one video. And everywhere, a lot of videos are getting, generating data. So data means, graph. Data means all kinds of signals, say health signals, your ECG signal, your EEG signal, everything together, your health image data, your CT scan data, everything together. So data is of different forms and we call them as unstructured data. So data is both structured and unstructured data. And more of the data is unstructured data. So that is a big, big difference. Second important thing is the volume in which the data is getting generated. And it is generated at such a fast speed. Speed of data generation is tremendous. Every moment you are, sending through WhatsApp, through your, Facebook, lots of your images, video, chatting with your friends, and so many other things. Okay. So the important thing is that it is coming at a very fast pace. So that's why we say that it has got a big velocity. Velocity is high, volume is high, and the data is of different nature. Not that just, one type of data. Okay. And then we have to think about the veracity of the data. So there are lots of such attributes of big data. Since time is less, I will be and others will speak. I cannot go through much about it. And for solving them, there are several different techniques. How do you store this data? How do you analyze this data? So one of the possible solutions was using Hadoop, and many people they are still using. But then my colleagues, at least Mr. Sudip Majumdar, who will be talking next, and you will know that, okay, Hadoop is now not the solution. There is other things like, say, Apache Spark, NoSQL. So there are other kinds of, alternate arrangements, and each one of them will take, days together to explain. So I'm not going into that. And only thing I wanted to tell you about the storage capacity. The computer storage capacity has grown exponentially. But the interesting thing is that speed was not keeping up. So in 1990, the storage capacity was 1400 megabyte, for example. The same thing in 2010, it becomes 1 terabyte. So much of huge, it has grown. But then the transfer speed, which was 4.5 megabytes per second, now it has become 100 megabytes per second. Still then, the complete drive, which used to take 5 minutes in 1990, in spite of the fact that transfer speed has increased, it is taking, say, 3 hours in 2010. So Hadoop, it talks about, or even the Apache Spark, it talks about that it just distributes the entire data space, the different storage devices, and they are all working at the same time, more of parallelism. So the same 1 terabyte of data can be, it can be transmitted in 2 minutes time. As you can see, that it will go from 3 hours to 2 minutes. And as I said, that unstructured data, it has started becoming much more prominent than the structured data. In this kind of, the big data, we are using the clusters. Earlier, we were purchasing very, sophisticated and very costly servers. Today, it is not required. We are using, the cheap commodity server, both hardware, because, they are all available. You buy them more in number. But then they will be the commodity servers. They are not very costly. So now this is the era of distributed processing. So we are doing distributed processing. The whole data, you do not, process it simultaneously, but distribute it in different storage devices, and then you do it parallelly. So there are two things. One is parallel, parallel and distributed data processing. So before you analyzing the big data, some of the consumers in the earlier days, they used to pay a lot of bill for the electricity. And then after they have started analyzing that big data, there are so many new things. I think that all the, the corporations, the power generating corporations, they should think about, using this kind of technique much more. What are the techniques? The techniques is, today if you apply this computing environment to a very large extent, significant extent, then the advantage will be that not only that our bill will come down, but then the most important thing is we will come to know, for example, at the peak load hour, we are all using the same kind of things. So they will give us the feedback which will say that, okay, do not use electricity at such and such time of the day. Rather, you make use of doing that washing at this period of time. And why I am getting my electricity bill is increasing, I would come to know every moment how I have utilized the electricity. So it's so important. And that's why, now today, smart meters are coming, and which is very important. Monitoring the distribution network, which is so important for doing all these things. IBM, they have got a smart meter solution. This is very interesting, You have to do, you have got, a lot of data, but then much of the data is not very useful. So you have to do data mining. This is an important area which you have to study when you will be studying this tomorrow's or today's technology. Data security is very important. Another very important thing is, many times you'll find that, okay, so many people, they are seeing that, watching the TV, and then suddenly the peak load increases. So what will result in, nowadays we do not have load shedding, but I remember when we were students that there used to be lots of load shedding those days. Even now also there are load shedding, because now why is it so? Because you do not have the generation, the power when maximum people are making use of it. Now in today's world, we do not use only the fossil fuel based power, but then we are also using the renewable power. So you can make the entire scheme in an effective way. The current status of IoT, I was mentioning that Internet of Connected Things. Currently it is being estimated that within a few years, every person will have, on the average, on Earth, 6.5 devices which will be connected to the internet. Many people, they are having 2 mobiles. Many people, they will be connecting their devices at home. For example, your washing machine, for example, you just do not know your cooker, your lighting system, your fridge. You have forgotten to, switch off something. Just don't worry, everything will be connected with the internet. So if you are there in Delhi, then from Delhi, sitting at Delhi, you can operate any of these utilities at your home. So there are a whole lot of things like, the smart buildings, smart city is a very important Government of India project. And I have written smart city and smart village. Why not village? Why only cities? Because in the villages also, we want to monitor water, electricity, agriculture. And in the cities, for example, the transportation is so important today. You have to, the pedestrians and the vehicular traffic, these things will have to be managed appropriately in the cities today, because lots of jams, traffic jams in the office hours, everywhere in Calcutta, in all the big cities. So who will do that? For doing that, again, everything should be connected to the internet. And for managing this, whether it is transportation management, building management, smart city, everything is becoming smart. Hospitals are becoming smart. So what is the difference of yesterday's technology and today's technology? The difference is that yesterday's technology, in a sense, was dumb technology compared to what we are going to have or what we are having today. That is, most of them are becoming smart, smarter, and going to be smartest. This is the major difference between the two. The cameras that you are using, for example, yesterday's cameras, you can only take the photographs. But today's cameras, it should be such that it can not only take the photographs, in the camera itself, you can put appropriate software so that the camera itself can analyze the image. The camera say, just while you are taking the photograph, immediately the camera will say that, okay, this is a photograph of Mr. X. The name will be written there. So it's very, very important, and time is less. So IoT system architecture. So these systems, they are all connected. So many devices, so many gadgets, everything will be connected to a hub. And through that, there is a term called fog processor, and which others may talk about. And then from there, it goes to the internet. And a very important thing is cloud computing, because lots of data will have to be now stored in the cloud. And then there are lots of advantages of cloud computing. So IoT and cloud computing, they become, all without one, you cannot think about the other. So the current technologies, they are all inter and strongly related set of technologies in the data science. So when we are talking about, the sensors, because there are so many sensors everywhere, even a simple human being in a hospital, you will find lots of patients. So you can have, your ECG, your EEG, your blood pressure, your pulse oximeter, and what not. If somebody is in the ICU, then, there again, you have to control lots of things, the temperature, the humidity, so everything will be done by sensors. Now, some of these sensors, all the time, all the sensors need not be, operational. So there will be a duty cycle. Power consumption, if some sensor is not being used, do not put it on. Like in our houses, we just put on a light, and then for me particularly, so many times I forget to put it off. And then that will be the case with many of you. Now make it, once it becomes a part of internet, then there will be no problem. So this is an IoT technology stack. The local sensor network, then there are gateway devices. Through the gateway devices, they go to the internet and then to the cloud. So the whole lot of technologies you will be learning. Very interesting, my dear students. I can tell you that more than they are very interesting and very simple. Do not be afraid. Anybody can learn these. And for that, there are some specific, the languages which have been devised. And, you need not be worried about studying them. Anybody can study of any engineering or science discipline, or even maybe humanities discipline. So what are the different areas, transportation, we talked about, factories, because it is known as Industries 4.0. And Industries 4.0, the basic backbone is these industries will have Internet of Things, all connected. Water is going to be a major problem throughout the globe. Supplying the potable water is a major problem. And then it is a subject which is being taught to civil engineers today. But then it has to be taken care of by the computer scientists, by the IoTs. So that's very important with lots of sensors. Energy, it's not only that you generate one type of energy. Tomorrow's energy some will be solar, some will come from fossil fuel like the conventional energy sources, some will come from, hydel power, some will come from, biological energy. So lots of different sources, wind energy, it will come. So how you will be having, because you have to transmit the same energy. At a time, if much of energy is generated, solar cannot be generated at night. So you must have a smart, not only smart meter, you must have a smart system. It's known as a smart grid. So that when the power is required more, then you effectively and in an optimal way, you generate that energy and then you transmit. Healthcare, medical system, it is so important, every bit of it, unless we can make it, absolutely using IoT, big data and machine intelligence you apply, healthcare problems cannot be solved. Even the doctors, they need to know all the things which we are discussing today, because otherwise we cannot provide the healthcare facilities to all the people. Such a huge country. Agriculture, I'll just talk about it a little bit later on. Governance, finance, you talk about a thing and you need this. So data science, suppose in agriculture, we do not have any digital soil map. None of these, our third world country, I do not know whether there is some such a map in USA or in the developed countries. Soil map means what? That means where a particular kind of the chemical, the physical properties of the soil, how good is the soil for generating or for cultivating, rice or wheat or this or that. Do you have any digital soil map? No. Why not? Make it. Hundreds of students will get jobs. Crop mapping. In which soil, which kind of crops will be. Whole country should be mapped in terms of digital soil map, crop map, weather prediction, which is so important because especially in our country, where much of the land is not very fertile and they depend only on the rainwater. So this prediction, now it is very good, but it has to be made much better by using more of such IoT and machine intelligence techniques. Fertilizer, what kind of fertilizer you will be using? The farmers, you have to help them. Disease detection, a particular kind of crop may have some disease. What kind of pest you will give for that disease management? So there are lots of things, disease, pest management, automated irrigation, so important. In fact, Mr. Mujumdar was doing work on that. That means with little bit of water available, how do you optimally use that water for the automated irrigation? So lots and lots of things which are important. In IST Shipwood, we have done one, smart canteen. I do not know, with lots of sensors we had kept there, temperature sensor, the humidity sensor, and all these should be a part of IoT. So big data in imaging, radiological imaging, believe me that the amount of data which is getting generated, these are all, whatever I have written, these are all classical imaging. But then tomorrow there are big data in gene sequencing. For example, now everybody is scared of COVID. Do you have any idea that how much amount of human genomic sequence? We have got, gene, 1,000 big project. Every human being will generate almost, there will be lakhs of gene pairs, and they will be generating almost 22 megabytes of data. My own gene. That means now that gene sequence is very important for the prediction of what kind of disease you can have. Now, these are all bacterial and viral genomics. Now, COVID genomics, this has already been, analyzed. Even in my new institute, we are doing this work. Not only COVID and thousands of different type of bacteria, the genomic sequencing is being done there. And then once you know it, then again you have to use this in the big data, big framework. So early diagnostics of the diseases, because we need to know that whether we will be having any disease or not. For that, you need again another thing, which is machine intelligence, AI and machine intelligence. So it will be, this is one of the, most interesting subjects out here. I'm not going much into it, but then now we call it as a deep learning since time is very less. And then, for example, this is a car. You have seen that, okay, the car nameplate immediately just passes through, and then the camera can, not only camera will be able to read the card, the plate, your nameplate of the card, but then it should also be able to create a description of the card. For that, there are deep learning techniques, which as we call, and it's a, suppose, the face recognition, this is one face. Now, suppose there are thousands of faces, out of which you have to find out that who is Sarah. So there are some thousands of such faces given to you. And then you have to really find out that, okay, this is Sarah among these 1,000 faces. So face detection is so important. You have, there are lots of these things. And then AI will automate. Can you, for example, now you are writing your own algorithms, you are writing your own codes. A time will come, or will it come at all, when the artificial intelligence will write the code for you? My dear students, imagine you need not write a code. Your code will be written by the machine intelligence technique. The algorithm that you are proposing, the corresponding code will be written. And then if there are some errors, automatically it will be syntactic, semantic errors, it will be doing the things. Finally, just for 2 minutes, cyber security, which is very important, which is not a part of this, but then remember that data security and cyber security is a very important area, of which today we talk about the hackers and hacking. The first hacker in the whole world was this gentleman, Bold and Newman. So they are considered as the first hacker, but then not in a good sense. But then they had in 1971, when there was the first, kind of projects, which is ARPA project. It was an American defense project. Now these three young people, they had written a code, and one day, one fine morning, everybody found that in his machine, it's written, I am the creeper, catch me if you can. I am a virus, catch me if you can. It is not a malicious virus, but only all that this creeper virus did was to display the message. Now you must know that where the hackers will do the hacking, the front door access, backdoor access. Backdoor access is very dangerous. Trojan is another kind of, hacking. And many times from the internet, inadvertently, we just install, we download, say something, this thing, that thing and all, and we install Trojan, which is a very dangerous kind of thing. So there are software vulnerability. What these, they will be doing, they will modify your log file, they will steal your files, they may modify your files, which is still better. They can steal your files, but then if they can deface your website, if you can modify your files, imagine what will be the condition. And worst thing is that they may install this backdoor, because most of the virus may enter through the backdoor. So they can install that backdoor software. And then they can attack other systems, not only your system, website. Many websites are being defaced. Server, they are hijacking. And most importantly, they are launching distributed denial of service. You are trying to reach your server, you cannot do it. Your services are being denied. And this is being done in a distributed fashion. Imagine, such a bad scenario. Why does it happen? That is because of the insecurity, insecure web service, network service, insecure cloud interface. In fact, I had shown that what kind of attack the hacker may do on your system and how to take care of that by encryption. So this is again another very interesting thing. That is how your text can be encrypted and then decrypted by the receiver, so that you do not have any problem with it. So I do not know, maybe I have taken a little bit of time, and I must again, once again, thank all the participants. And if you have got any kind of questions, you can ask maybe after this whole program is available, is over. And okay, so Mr. Shengupta, I'm over.
Thank you very much, sir. This has been an immensely knowledgeable session. Thank you very much. I'm sure the students have picked up a lot of knowledge and information. There are certain questions and answers which probably we will take later after the session. Right now, with your permission, I would like to go to Mr. Sudeep Majumdar for his presentation, and over to Mr. Majumdar. Thank you.
Thank you. So let me share my presentation. Can you see my presentation?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. No.
How about now?
Yes, we can see your desktop.
Okay.
Yes, there we are. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much to this ABP Education Forum to provide me this opportunity to talk to the attendees and students and share my experience. And I'm indeed lucky enough to be in this august company. First of all, Dr. Ajay Kumar Rai there. He is my mentor and my favorite Ajayda. And all of you know him as an extremely distinguished scientist in our generation, but he is one of the finest, most compassionate individual one can even find. Also, I had brief introductions with Mr. Nandan Sengupta, a proven executive who has Bengal's youth in his sleeve. He really thinks about it very deeply and cares a lot. Dr. Anshuman Ghosh, whose reputations in data science precedes his name. Professor Varun Roy, he is a pioneer in our signal processing and field. And of course, Mr. Charanpreet Singh, he has been the pioneer in getting the educations in the front of the IT, OT, IIoT, data science, with his vast experience worldwide. I'm indeed lucky enough to be in this company. Now let me get to the point very straight. This is a classic sentiment analysis from the job sets in India, all right? And you can see that IoT, machine learning, controller, statistics, all those things kind of just coming back to you, right? And I must tell you that, in spite of COVID, all right, in spite of very gloomy economic conditions, there has never been a better time to be young and to be kicking. And it's not just a forward-looking statement. I really believe it, because COVID has given rise to the numerous opportunities for exposing yourself into the new technology side. Education is classic one. You can see this. At-home economy is another one. There's so many things. And since I'm essentially speaking to the students, I really believe the onus is really on you. If you have the passions, if you have the ability to roll up the sleeve, if you really work hard, you are in the right spot. As the doctor has said, don't fret about it. And I've seen enough. I personally don't think the programming is a very high-tech job. Anyone with a logical mindset and rational thinking and analytical understanding can do a fantastic job. I've seen in my life people from political science background, people from Sanskrit MA, people from psychology background doing fantastically well in the programming, right? So it's exactly, it's on you. Now coming back. So the question is that, this is, I'm looking for a job. Why should I care, right? Yeah, you're absolutely right. Why should you care? But realize this, business is changing. Business itself is changing. And the industry's trend is that customer experience is the king. Customer, as Amazon's Jeff Bezos said, that every customer is the thing, everything else follows backward. Customer no longer go by the prescribed thing. He goes by his own intuitions, own experience, own way of understanding. He wants very frictionless experience. And every company or enterprise, they must survive, and how to survive, they have to differentiate their offer. They have to do certain things. They have to innovate with new things so that it is little extra than others. And they need to be proactive. They have to understand what customers want and quickly define services, define products, and so forth. Gone are the days of having a product life cycle of 1.5 years and another 1 year of trial, and after 3 years, you get something there. Forget about it. Just forget about it. Those days are over. So the agility is the key. And as a result, it spins off lots of different market opportunities. So the thing is that, especially the students, and I'm talking about the students plus aspiring people who want to get into this, why such a big buzz about IoT? Why such a big buzz about data science and AI, ML and big data stuff? Why? Why? Because business itself is changing. And just to give an example, Dr. Roy already gave an example. I'll just go very quickly about this example. For a comms industry, you can see that, way back in sometimes in the 60s, there used to be a mobile thing, and all of us are used to the dial-up phones, right? for 40, 50 years back, 50 years almost. And this particular thing, the mobile thing, used to be, hinged on the back of the trunk of the truck. Now, 2007, the iPhone came, and iPhone completely changed the way we behave. The internet goes along with us. Literally, internet goes along with us. And it goes and we share it 24/7. We think about it 24/7. We use it 24/7. We are always connected, right? And always sharing. So the question is that things have changed. And now you're talking about 2010. You see what's going on. I'll just give another example. Again, why should I care when I'm looking for a job? You care because industry is really fast changing. You can see that by yourself. And just 1 hour of the communication industry, 1 hour, 175,000 smartphones sold. 1 hour, right? 1 hour, 23 petabytes of mobile data. Petabytes, which means 23, I do not know, 23 maybe gigabytes, 23,000 gigabytes, I don't know, terabytes. And I do not know how many gigabytes, to be honest, right? But essentially, it's a 70 years of, HD coding, right? HD recording per se. And when talking about 70 years of HD recording, and think about this, 2.7 billion WhatsApp, 246 million YouTube videos, and 100 million of Snapchats, and 28 million of tweets. So this is the happening in 1 hour itself. So what exactly company is supposed to do? Unless and until they monetize this, they cannot offer you a job, right? Another example, it's not only the business is changing. Now I'll come back later again on the another part of it. We are all used to the airlines being late, a flight being late. Imagine one late flight by hour. Airlines lose $140,000 per hour. They call airlines on the ground. And nothing fails just like that. Just like any living organ, right? Nothing fails just like that. It must be giving you enough signals, but we fail to capture those signals. As a result, the catastrophe happens, right? Exactly the same thing. So the business is changing. Now we are changing as well, right? How we are changing? We are the customers, right? We designed our own journey. Just to give an example, right? Give an example is that you use smartphones, and typically you have 30, 40 smart apps in your phone, right? And you use possibly every day, maybe 5 to 6. So how many apps are there in the Google Store or Apple? Maybe a couple of million, right? So within a couple of million, you pick up only 30, 40, which meets your needs, right? Well, yeah, well, I'm an individual, yes. But imagine that's what exactly we behave with enterprise as well. Because we are connected 24/7. We are connected 14, 40 minutes every day. 14, 40 minutes every day we are connected, right? So this is what it is. Everybody wants digital native. Everybody wants the frictionless omni-channel, okay? We are used to, think about it, we are used to have our check deposited by our mobile phone. We don't want to go to the bank. Yeah. At the same time, we want the facility to go to the bank and deposit. At the same time, we want the facility to go to the ATM and deposit the check. So you want all facilities, right? Frictionless. So at the same time, technology is changing rapidly. It's like understatement. I saw one question, I just responded. Yes, there's only one option is continuous education, because adoption is also so fast. Imagine it took telephone, radios, and televisions of the world almost like a couple of decades to be accepted worldwide. It took PCs of the world a couple of years to be accepted worldwide. Now it's a question of months. Yeah, VR and Twitter of the world, just months, right? So the technology is changing fast. And so you can see this, why we are having so much of buzz about IoT or data science and AI ML, and I will come back there. and why you need to care, because your future really depends on these 4 new things. Doesn't matter whether you are a chemical engineering, because these days there's no really pure play engineering disciplines or education discipline per se. Everything is kind of cross. Exactly the same way things are happening in the industry as well. There's no pure play retail, there's no pure play comms, there's no pure play airlines, there's no pure play hotels. Yeah, they do everything, right? Airlines also does sell rental car and hotels, and retailers also do some kind of smart telephone stuff. Telephone companies does retail. There's nothing pure play anymore because everybody wants to leverage each other, leverage the huge amount of data they do, right? So that's why you need to care. And oops, what happened? This is funny.
You're just right out of the window, probably.
Okay, yeah.
Some other window, yeah.
Right. And so the question is now, you realize why you need to care as in participants. Now, I'll share my experience, how to care and where to focus on, right? Very practical experience based on my experience, right? And this is true for all. This is very important. True for all, not only for the fresh graduates, already working folks, right? Already working people, they need to really care as well. Because the way we understand the job, that's gone. Another 5 years down the line, trust me, there won't be that ready jobs there, which is like a 40 hours a week. Yeah, it will be gone. People would be working 2-3 jobs because at home economy is here to stay, because it has got an economy scale, So many companies I know, they're pretty much, their lease is off and they're out because they could see the tremendous amount of productivity. And B, also realize the days of middle management is over, pretty much. Yeah, either you have to be a top-notch strategist or merger and acquisition guy, or you have to be a damn good on your tech. Hands-on, roll up the sleeve guy are the way to go. Yeah, I'm just lucky enough, right? I just managed to get out. So this is the situation right now. Now, this is my very favorite topic. It might have been cliche by this time, but I kind of coined the things 5 years back. Data is the new capital. Why? We talked about it. Why, right? You see, analysis. We talk about it all the time. ML AI has been there for the last 40 years. What is suddenly changing? The suddenly changing is that all along we have done in a BI, business intelligence reporting, any kind of reporting, what happened? Great. What happened is fantastic. But focus is on the past. Yes, it will make sense. Or I would say other way, if tomorrow is not the same as yesterday, then you cannot fix anything. So what happened? I get the answer. Yeah, what happened? I got something delayed. Yeah, how does it work? Tomorrow, if it's not the same as yesterday, it has no value, right? That's a downside. Then we're talking about predictive. Why happened? Wow, fantastic. Yeah, a little better. Why happened? And what will happen? Kind of fantastic. But think about it again. If tomorrow is not same as today, then why happened cannot fix anything, right? So the third thing is that what should happen, descriptive. That's where IoT comes into the picture. That's where the feedback loop from the machine learning must go back to the actuator, which will change the things. If you have got smart refrigerator understands through the infrared that the level of your milk, when the milk goes down, it must send a signal back to your phone, sir, your milk is out, right? So that feedback loop is very important, right? And that's why we say data is the new capital, because whenever you start an enterprise, and I really would love attendees to be, some of them to be an entrepreneur, seriously, start your own. Think about it. So much of opportunity, it again depends on your imagination, really. You see, oil is the raw. I'm just trying to make it comparative study between oil and the data itself. Oil is raw and is of little direct use, just like data is of little direct use. But oil has lots of potential energy. Yeah, data has a lot of potential energy if you can use it. Oil has the gas itself, which is refined oil, has 5 to 10 times of potential value. Yeah, same way. If I can get some analytic component out of data, it has got tremendous amount of potential value. But still all potential, and you guys are all physics students, you've done it, right? In grade 12. But if you ignite the fire to the gas, it has a huge amount of kinetic energy, right? So potential energy gets converted to kinetic energy because of you fire. Same way, you start using analytics on data, you get a huge amount of kinetic boost. And then this particular oil, when it's being written up, it serves as a fuel and it powers the economy, right? Same way. Data with analytics powers the business. And there's the one difference. So you see, when you start an enterprise, you're talking about infrastructure, talking about human resources, and talking about now data as a capital and money. There are 4 things you need. Typically, you used to have infrastructure, money, and the human resource. Now you need this thing, because this thing is like a stock. Unlike energy being converted from one form to other form, here it adds more and more. The more analysis you get, the more value it has. It's just like a stock. Over time, it multiplies 500 times. So you see why you need to care about this job, because trust me, going forward, just like English is our business language now, 5 years down the line, stat would be the language. So irrespective of whether you are a doctor, or a lawyer, whether you are a philosophy major or a social scientist, doesn't matter. This is the nature of the job going forward. You have to have that background. Now, let's come back to the COVID very quickly. And I did some research in the COVID itself for some time back. You see, as I said, COVID situation gave rise to some new opportunities, which people never really thought will happen so quickly. I have been personally trying enough. I'm sure Dr. Roy, Professor Roy also trying enough to see these doctors getting into the digital world. They refuse. Doctors are the king. Now, guess what? They're doing the telemedicine all the time. They could see the value. They could see that they can see 5, 6 patients very organized way, no issues at all, right? So the thing is that government right now, every government in the world itself is now inward looking. Every government, they're talking about making X, making the country, right? As a result, government of India has this program right now, up to 200 crores of tender. There's no foreign participation allowed. And more than 200 crores of tenders, there has to be 40% component has to be in the made in India. Less than 200 crores, nobody is allowed, not even joint venture. That really gives rise to a tremendous amount of potential for doing things on our own. And IoT is the name of the game, because anything you have to do, you have to do a smart cities. Smart cities means what? It's not a concept, right? It's just a smart parking, smart garbage collections, smart way of seeing the traffic on the freeways, things like that, right? Smart watering, all of them will come with pictures. You can see the healthcare, huge revolution, huge. You can see in the education itself. Can you imagine the education is being transformed into a different thing? I would not be surprised if IITs, coming years will accommodate as many as they can, because it's a digital scaling, right? They don't have to come to the campus half of the time. They can do it from home, right? Same thing, you can see this contactless businesses, like lots of contactless business coming up, facial recognitions, this kind of a thing, tremendous amount, tracing of the this kind of diseases, right? And of course, 5G, 5G, I cannot stress enough what is going to happen. It will revolutionize the way we do things, because it has got a power of 1,000 times more than 4G LTE. It has got a specific band to transmit the data. You can have theoretically, you can have your grandfather's machines or generator becoming a very smart. You just need an AD converter and a 5G connection, so you can do the vibrations, temperature, and so forth, right? So these are the, of course, the fresh food e-commerce and supply chain. Supply chain is a huge hit now. Now every country is going to have a China plus one, and plus could be them for the supply chain, right? So these are all happening in the COVID. Because of COVID is the new opportunity. And in terms of when would they get back to the normalcy, you can see this retail and the financial services and telecom is already kind of coming back. Other one is hit a little bit. They will take some time. Okay, next year, once the vaccine is there or some fashions, they will get back to time. But the way the industry has changed because of COVID, so many jobs are permanently lost. The way we do things will not be the same way we'll be doing things going forward. But it gave a new opportunity for any individual, smart one, to have multiple jobs. Okay. So this is now my favorite part. What exactly we do? You see, we said that what exactly is IoT? Ability to turn anything, good, appliance, building, animal, plants, etc., into smart. Right? What does it mean? And this same smart objects will connect, monitor, manage, control, such as Dr. Roy said, right? And lots of area of specializations based on your interest. That's the key. What's exactly your interest? You know, broadly speaking, IoT, you can have 4 pillars. One side is IoT devices, age, very, very important, because that's the thing which collects the data from the physical stuff, right? That's the thing. So the communications, how do you collect the communications? That's very important. So you got to have a real good understanding about the hardware interfaces, about the microcontroller architectures, you know, those kind of things. Arduinos and Raspberry Pis and embedded software and electronics and things like that. So not everybody is interested in that, right? It's possible. So typically you can see the electronics, electrical engineers, computer science, some, not all, electronics diploma, lots of hobbyists. Let's not forget that. When we used to be in the college life, we used to really have a fun time in Madam Street, because there are so many people, hobbyists there in West Bengal, love to do with electronics, play with electronics, right? So that particular group, they can be a fantastic IoT guys, fantastic, because it's now so cheap, and you got Google, remember that, forget that. Second one is slightly different kind. It's a gateway. What exactly is the gateway? Because from the edge, from the devices, the data has to go to the cloud, right? So it's like a middleman in between. If it's a middleman, his basic job is to the device coordination. Very hard job, right? But he has to do the device coordination. Now to do the device coordination, you've got to be a good network programmer, which basically means you got to understand, do very good C, C++, Python, scripting, that kind of a thing, right? And as I said before, this programming is an attitude. It is a skill which can be mastered by anybody. Now, I really mean it. I know so many PhD postdoc from Institute of Chemical Biology in Kolkata, fantastic OLAP programmer. There are so many Python developers, you won't believe this. I know one guy from the Jhargram LCE, licensee civil engineer. He is the top-notch data scientist in Sprint. Yeah, without any further study, trust me. So the thing is that anybody and everybody could do it. I've seen political science major, I've seen the psychology major, PhDs. They are all phenomenal Python programmers. Why? Because they do not think it's like a career. For them, it's like a tool. Yeah, I need to do this because it's a very common sense aspect. And I keep harping on that. Same thing on the cloud side, because that's another pillar of the IoT. So data comes from edge, through the gateway, it gets transferred to the cloud. Because all these IoT devices, as Dr. Roy said, generated so much of tremendous amount of data. So somehow it has to be processed. You can do some kind of an edge processing. It could be the microcontroller or some high-end microprocessors as well. That's possible. But finally, you got to have something on the cloud. And cloud means you got to know how to process. You got to have an understanding of the database system. You got to have understanding of data modeling. You got to have all those things. And when you have all those things, that means you've got Microsoft IoT, Oracle IoTs, Google BigQueries of the world, various cloud, right? So anybody with an IT background, they can do that job, the cloud job. So, but the onus is on you to get certification, because without certifications, nobody will touch you. And certification doesn't cost much money. Most of the time it's free. So get going on this. That's an easy path for the existing workforce. I'm not talking about the fresh graduates. And the last, and my most favorite, as you can see, out of all these four, this is the most important, because this is where the company makes money. This is where everybody makes money. This is where. And there is no better time than to be a stat major or a maths major or applied math major or, you know, econometrics major or operations research major. Right? They are the people who are having a fun time, real fun. Okay, because all the streams of data sends trigger signal to the, as I said, to the edge device to activate some actuator, and they derive the insight. So this is the reality. So the thing is that based on your how do I say this, interest maybe, and if you have the little grit and curiosity, you know, IoT is a very funny domain. The more you dig deep, the more interest you get. And it's all the imaginations. And as Dr. Sutai said, that there's nothing cannot be touched by the IoT. Everything is there, will be some fashion touched by the IoT. McKinsey said it will be about $6.9 trillion business by 2035. $6.9 trillion business just from IoT itself. Industry 4.0 is happening everywhere. And I can go on and on the industry side, because as Dr. Roy said, that water is going to be the next most precious resource. Can we have a smart pump which will understand the terrain, which will understand the weather, which will understand what's the ideal conditions for the given crop, and based on the crop, it can smartly discharge the water. Beautiful, right? It can be done. It has been done. Then think about the reverse way on the medical side. Medical side, there's something called gait analyzers. All these Alzheimer patients and Parkinson's patients especially, they have to work on a thing so that doctors can understand, okay, they have these medications, they have the other things, but this is how they work. They have three-dimensional movement. But guess what? That costs $25,000 the mat. So as a result, you have to wait for 3 months. Imagine you have a sensors on your leg like a ring, and if you have a smart 3D kind of a things and good string theory kind of a mathematical background, then you can do a very good job, right? And of course, in a smart city itself, smart garbage collection, very simple job. You got a threshold values, garbage gets collected, you got a sensor there, sensor picks up, sends the signal back to the, basically it's the sensors back to the events or some kind of command and control center. It receives that automatically, it makes an actions, makes a ticket, tells the garbage collector, go and pick it up. It becomes that way. Yeah, there's a societal opposition would be there, of course, right? Oh, I have to go and run everywhere. I'm not used to it. But if you're not used to it, better used to it, because your job will be lost. It is not capitalism. This is the nature of the game, right? So coming back here, I made some checklist. You can see this. The checklist says very simple stuff, basic understanding of how C works. Not a pro, you don't have to be a pro, but you should know the pointers, you should know the strings, you should know those kind of loops and stuff like that. Basic understanding of electronics, very important. Learn the closed loop, basic understanding of the voltage, current, resistance, basic circuit from circuit diagram, get basic understanding of the LEDs and the capacitors, learn how to solder, build circuit using ICs, design your own circuit board, learn how to use microcontroller. And Google is your best friend. Just do it. Just do it. Trust me, the more small projects you do, you will understand so much. Your first few projects could be doing your best. Okay, you will know how microcontroller works. Then you will get, yeah, this is what kind of microcontrollers are available there for the complex projects. Okay, can I use MQTT? How do I do that? The small projects you do, your knowledge base will go so much deeper you won't imagine. And remember, first line, all masters were once beginner. So don't be too hard with yourself. Don't just be too hard. First thing first, get educated. The left side, get educated. Make Google your best friend. Pick up some projects. Get educated. Second one, never stop learning. Today this, day after tomorrow this. Today you have a Spark ML. You know, 2 years, 3 years back, Hadoop was a big deal. Wow. Now Hadoop is pretty much kind of a, now is the data breaker, Spark ML. Who knows what's going to happen somewhere down the line? Kafka was a big deal. Now Kafka is also kind of getting slowed down. The question is that every 6 months, things are evolving continuously. Problem with IoT is that there is no standardization there yet. Very unfortunate. Industrial IoT consortiums, for which I'm a founding member, we have 200 various vendors, everybody fighting with each other. Nobody wants to play with the standard body. So you would see a tremendous amount of proprietary technology coming up, whether from a Panasonic or from Siemens or from Bosch. Everybody will be closed. Nobody will be open. They will give an API, but they will not exactly be open, right? So that's the problem we're going to have. Your job as a student, as a learner in this new particular field, your job is going to push, pull, and act upon the data from the machines. That's your job. And if you're, as a project itself, if you can do this, if you can push the data, pull the data, act on the data itself, you will be successful, right? And to do this itself, you know, IoT, as I said, is a visceral. You need to gather your grit, pull up your sleeve, get your hands dirty. That's the only way you can learn. That's the only way you can be in this field. If you want to be the IoT, if you want to be the data science, same story. Somebody commented, okay, I'm a CS guy, how do I get into data science? Yes, roll up your sleeve, go and read in the EDU for the MITs, as well as I'm sure IIT Kharagpur has the stat courses, or even Salman Khan's Khan Academy. Read the intro to stats, get some real understanding. Once you understand the stats, once you understand the various algorithms, random forest, scikit-learn, NumPy of the world, you start, and if you're from CS, you have a programming background, you start putting things there, you start finding patterns. Yeah, you learn. Then you get real projects, you learn more. Best way to learn IoT, as I said, is by doing projects. And the biggest mistake everybody makes is take a first project very complex. No, take a small projects. Learn on the fly. Yes, you may not know how to transmit the data over the air. Yeah, I do not know. Yeah, just do Google, you figure it out, you'll get it. So take a small project and work on it. Don't fret. It is absolutely normal to feel frustrated, overwhelmed, very normal. And you might have a decision paralysis as well, but that's okay. That's really okay. Fun. This is the very important point. Fun is key to your success. You need to have a fun. You need to be excited about this. It's a creative thing. Oh yes, I would love to have my thermostat understand when my car is coming. Wow. I would love to see my home system's air conditioner to be automatically turned off or on when things go like this. Simple logic like me. I keep losing my, misplace my glasses and misplace my phone or misplace my wallet, right? I'm sure everybody does. Imagine having a tracking device, Bluetooth-based device, where if you do a kick, it will ping. So you will never lose any more time your wallet or phone. Yeah, think about it. Think about those kind of things. That will be a fun, right? That will be a real fun, and you enjoy, and you learn a lot how to communicate in Bluetooth, right? So fun is the important. And as I said, temper expectation for the first few projects. Do not everybody make that mistake. Because if you are getting into the IoT, and again, I'm talking to the audience who wants to get into this new field, and they're thinking about how to do that. I've got some links for the courses to take, but the fact is that you know, we all keep saying in our signature list, or change is the only permanent thing. But believe it or not, that's a real permanent thing. Even at this my age, I have to read every day, at least 2 hours, at least, because that's the only thing. Otherwise, I'll be off. Who the heck will give me a salary or paycheck if I can't contribute in the new economy, right? This is a new thing, and the age is not a factor; it's just a function. So, for the first few projects, temper your expectations. Do the small incremental thing, and you can be very successful. As I said, baby steps are the key to the giant leaps. So, as I said, I'm a developer in my DNA, by the way, right? So the question is that I always go by the evidences. And it is not a freedom of imagination. You will see college graduates within a spec of 1.5 to 2 years, 2018 passed out, some of them 2019. I just want to tell you that extraordinary jobs are being done, can be done if you have fire under the belly and have the agility to learn new things. You're not blocked in your mind. So think about it. Here is a picture of Devojit Sarkar. And he is an IoT developer, top notch. I'll tell you what he has done. He's Oracle Chakraborty. He is a data management guy, very good at that. He's a Sanchari Satpathy. She is a fantastic data science analyst now, data analyst now. And she is a super Ishani Ghosh. Guess what? This is the backgrounds. Look at this. As I said, extraordinary work. I'm not talking about the very exceptional from the elite of the elites like IIT toppers types, right? I'm not talking about them. They're only 0.0001%. I'm talking about the vast majority of the good students. If they can given the opportunity, they can do extraordinary things. Look at what Devojit did. He has been involved in the smart water flow. He has done the work on the smart patient movement disorder, for the Parkinson's. He has been working on the cryogenic research lab specimen things, because it's a minus 86 degrees Celsius, those specimens are kept. So they want to monitor how those specimens are kept in a minus 86 degrees Celsius so that it doesn't get screwed up. And recently, he finished a fantastic project on fraudulent activity for the dealers. Wow. And in terms of technology knowledge, he's damn good now in the communications protocol. He's damn good in now the hardware, from the PCB design to the etching of the world. Everything he does it, right? All the protocols of the world, RS-485 onwards, everything else, TCP/IP, all of them. And of course, he knows a very good programming on C, C++, MicroPython, because he has to code on the embedded systems. You see? How did he do it? Wow. He was a hobbyist as well. And then he got a mentor over here. He learned on the job. He's a hobbyist, so he has the natural tendency to get into this. And he got the right environment where other people are also fascinated by this. And he's doing fantastic. He told me in this Purulia Ramakrishna mission, class 9 students doing phenomenal home automation job, IoT, because their physics teacher is very interested. And physics teacher got 20 students doing, I have got the videos, and it was a fantastic. Fantastic is the understatement. Yeah, Purulia Ramakrishna mission. Orco, it's BTech from FIEM, self-taught, just like Devojit is self-taught. MongoDB, PostgreSQL. He got into now Microsoft Azure IoT and Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and performed the data management of an industrial IoT product, industrial IoT 4.0 product, for a very, very niche industry, welding, very niche. From the welding machine itself all the way to the cloud and visualizations of the world. Beautiful job.
Sir, sorry, I'm very, very sorry to interrupt. Yeah, we are just, getting on really, really well. Okay,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And Sanchari Satpathy, self-taught Python, visualization tools, owns a skill in data modeling, BI tools, all of them, fresh from the graduates, MStat from CU. And Ishani Ghosh, see the last line. She works with the CIO of one of the large telecom company in the Latin America. And CIO himself is an IBM distinguished engineer before. He is a guru in the data mining. And with her, they saved $250,000. Okay, because she predicted to the accuracy of 96% the churn. So they could retain the customers, and customer retention is $100 per customer. So they saved so much. That's why CIO says, like, she is the brain of the data science tech. Imagine in a span of 1.5 years, right in West Bengal, right? So my question is that I can see them in each of you. Only thing, they have the fire under the belly and the right mentorship. And that's it. My presentations, here's my email. Feel free to send the email to me. And we just prefix with ABP because I get lots of email. Prefix with ABP, and these are the various links there. I already shared this with ABP Education as well, so they can share them with you as well. PPT, not PDF. If you want to leverage, use, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. It has been an incredibly good presentation with so much information and confidence which is emanating for the students. And there are a lot of questions in the Q&A section regarding changing streams to be in the data science, and your presentation has answered a lot of those already. So I will go to the next speaker, Professor Arun Kumar Rai. And before that, I do apologize, but I have to request all the speakers, next speakers, to keep it within about 7-8 minutes, please. And to help you, I will probably give you kind of intimation when you are close to that amount, because we will have to have some sort of question and answer session for which we already have questions, and I am sure I'll have some more. So with this, I welcome Professor Arun Kumar Rai, and over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir, for nice introduction. And then I thank ABP for allowing me to share the forum to speak to all of the students and all of you, esteemed members in the panel. Let me share the screen. Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay. So let me start, but my previous speakers have nicely elaborated the things. They have gone depth and breadth of everything, specifically Ajay sir and Sujit sir has already told about the details of data science, IoT, and all the aspects of it. I'm not take much time for that, because I will directly go to some of the issues which are not been discussed, because basic issues of IoT and how the framework is and how cyber physical system comes out of that, and what are different architecture for that matter has already been discussed. And but these things I am not going to revolution and everything. I'm not going to that. I'll go directly into some of the basic building blocks of IoT and cyber physical systems. All of us know that there are 4-layer architecture of IoT particularly, and this is based on basic embedded platforms and development board, and some of the sensors are connected to that, and finally it is connected to the cloud database, and the sensor data analytics and user interface. So these are the 4-layer architecture, which is particularly important for the students to understand. This is the technical bird's eye view of this, what I discussed basically. We are at the physical systems, then connected to the network, and finally to the cloud. And basic IoT architecture, if you look, some of the sensors are connected to the public subscriber. For example, we have MQTT, COAP, a lot of applications are there through which the sensors are connected to the sensor data, and those operations are basically finally goes to the operational analytics and big data analytics, which is all the sir has already covered. But if you look at the protocol stack, we have at the base we have IEEE 802.802.15 MAC layer and physical layer, and we have internet layer like IPv6, and then transport layer, application layer, we have COAP, MQTT, SMPP. These are the different application layer protocols, and finally we are connected to IoT stack. And all of us have seen a lot of IoT stuff, IoT applications in the recent past. These are the different applications already discussed by my previous speakers towards application in services, citizen, and environment-centric applications. But one thing I would like to point out is that with this host of applications, we can do what in India particularly, we have not gone into the remotest part of the country or rural areas where we can do a lot of work. And some part of IoT stuff can go into this in terms of smart healthcare and smart transport, smart city applications. Those can go into the remotest part of the country as a part of digital India that we are envisioned. And that is what we can always look for. And some of the applications can go into that. Our students can be motivated to, because the problems, there are two aspects to it. One is developing problems, applications, and the other one is developing some sorts of models or algorithms for them. So we have to go into this, and that is what is one application. Now, if you look at the trends in IoT application spectrum, we have smart home, wearable, smart city, and this is how the applications are developed in the recent past, and we can go beyond that. So these are the different IoT platforms. I'm not going into those in more details. What I understand is, particularly, I'm going to some of the issues and challenges of this research, because many things have already been covered by the previous speakers. Particularly when you talk about challenges and issues, we have a lot of issues in that. One is security, which is very, very important issue, quality of service, interoperability, interference management, energy awareness, and resource control. So these are the different challenges which the current as developers will face, and that is what we have to go into work for it and develop algorithms, develop models for them, so that, because what you see with the growing data, with large volume of data that is coming to because of sensors and all, so those have impact on the social aspect of life. So this will invade into privacy or security problems. So that is one important aspect wherein we have to put our effort. And the research in IoT, so far as we had action-based data, we had event-based applications, we have cloud-based applications, now service-based applications. This is how the number of publications are going in the recent years. And particularly, we have worked on certain case studies I would like to tell, because we have developed some models for agricultural applications where we try to get data from the soil and then try to study the pattern of the soil and then a pattern of the crops that can be developed on it, and we can put it that in cloud, and with the analytics we can study different different aspects of it and suggest the farmers how better they can go for cropping. So this is one application we have already developed and studied it, and these are the different parameters that we have observed over the period of time, the real-time data, and based on that we can develop analytics for that. And particularly in the era of connected intelligence, AI and ML come to our rescue, and we have seen that when we have a lot of cloud data and machine learning platforms are available nowadays, and those basically can be used for helping those data analysis, because we have large volume of unstructured data which is coming in, and we have to work on it and develop proper analytics. Now, what is the future right now is that we are all at the automated stage of development. Particularly, we are talking about automation in every industry, every aspect of life. But that is not the future. Future is basically when we talk about autonomous systems, particularly the near autonomous systems. When you talk about autonomous systems or near autonomous systems, we basically see how earlier idea was that when we sense, we react, and then sense, we act, and then we reason and then learn, and but finally we come to what is called intuitive AI, where intuitive AI means we understand, believe, elaborate, and trust, and that is basically AI driven. 2020 plus is basically a next generation or the next few decades will be spent towards studying this AI driven analytics. And if we look at the holistic approach, particularly augmenting humans, because all human beings, as we see, are very good in intuition, creativity, exercise, but we are very less in computation. But we want human endeavor always is to make machines powerful so that they can they can go into this intuitive and creativity and expertise part of it, because machines are very strong in computation. So if you go put a lot of computing power to this data that we generate to big data, and the algorithms we develop, then automatically AI will become intuitive AI, and the systems that we develop becomes autonomous systems. And in
sorry,
that,
sir. Sorry, sir, if I may. We have reached about 8 minutes. So just so you know. So, yeah.
Okay. This is the last slide, sir.
All
And
right. Thank you.
In this particularly, when we come to the computing power, we have to go to next generation computing, mostly from the traditional era of computing, particularly deep learning, ANN, and all. We have to move to quantum computing, quantum AI, and AI accelerators, neuromorphic techniques. All those techniques have to be used or developed to basically develop autonomous systems. And there are a lot of applications of this, and there are a lot of opportunity for the students, because these are all disruptive technologies which has ability to adapt to new needs, and therefore new jobs can be created, and the next generation placement will be mostly in these areas. So with this, I'd like to thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, Professor Roy, because you have expressed some other angles of this particular session. Thank you so much. I hope you will forgive me for hurrying you just a bit, because we are just trying to keep some time at the end for the students. So the next speaker, I welcome Dr. Angshuman Ghosh. And sir, same thing. I would just request you to keep it within 7-8 minutes, and over to you. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. So let me share my screen. Is it visible to all of you?
Not yet, no.
It's not shared yet. Yeah, now it's okay.
Now it's okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Also, my presentation is very brief. So initially I thought whether to keep a presentation or not, but I'll keep it very brief. So I think I'll not. So I think it's very good that some of the stalwarts, and they have discussed a lot of the backgrounds. So I'll not get into detail of any of the things, and I'll focus only on one area, which is something I have been working on for last so many years, which is data science. And so I'll probably start with a very brief background about me, so that I can relate some of the examples that I'll give later. So currently I'm leading data science for a company called Grab, which is the largest ride sharing and food delivery kind of company, also payment company, Southeast Asia. So which is like Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, etc. Before that, I worked as lead data scientist for a company called Target, which is a leading retail company in United States. And before that, I was working for Disney Star TV, which is the largest media company in India. In terms of education, I have done my management masters and PhD from XLRI, and also studied computer science at B College Shipur. And I started my career at Wipro. So the reason I discussed that, I'll come to that later, but let's go to the topic of the discussion first. So data scientist. So I'll not discuss a lot about it. All of you can, hear a lot about data science in media, and I think some of the earlier speakers have also talked a lot about data science. So why and when it became so popular, right? So this is one article which came in Harvard Business Review in the year 2012. That is just 8 years from before now, right? Now we are in 2020. So that article talked about data scientists, and they described it as the sexiest job of the 21st century. This is something I think one of the key articles which made the topic very popular in the common media. And before that, we probably had things like computer science, statistics, and all that. But data scientist as a term caught on mainly after this article. And on the right side, if you see, this is the latest article from Forbes, which is based on the review of jobs from Glassdoor, which is one of the largest jobs website, which is saying that last 4 years, the best job in America has been data scientist. And the average salary is more than 105,000 USD, which is in Indian rupees, more than 80 lakh rupees. Of course, in India, those salaries may not be very normal, but globally, this has become one of the most popular fields. So definitely, this is one of the best fields, I personally think also. And I think in India also it is picking up now, and going forward, as I think a lot of the people have discussed, this is going to be a very important field. Now, I think it is very good that some of the background has been already given by Professor Ajay, Sudeep, and others. So it's very easy. I'll just try to connect the dots probably based on what they have discussed. So why data science is growing so fast? The first thing which I think Professor Ajay Kumar Roy and Mr. Sudeep and others have discussed in very detail, that we have a lot of data, right? So when you're talking about data science, without data, there can be no data science. And thanks to all the things that they have mentioned, like IoT, sensor, mobile devices, internet, social media, we have a lot of data. And I think Professor Ajay also mentioned like how many gigabytes of data we are generating every day on different platforms, right? So we have a lot of data. So data is no longer an issue. Earlier, I remember 5-10 years back, if you wanted to get some data, just to get the data, you had to do some research, do a survey, get the data. But now we have too much of data. Second is storage. We have very cheap storage. At one point of time when I think I studied in B College, just to print one document, we had to use something called a floppy, which has 1.44 megabyte of data that can be stored there. But now all of us have probably terabyte hard disks, and storage has become really cheap. And on cloud, lot of people give you storage for almost free. And similar to storage, I think storage and processing both are linked to the underlying semiconductor and chip technology. So processing has also become very cheap and faster. And the fourth and very important point is that earlier we had a lot of tools like SAS, SPSS, which were paid tools. But now we are primarily in the industry using things like R or Python, which are free open source tools. So anybody can use it. You can just download and use it. Coming to the next point, I think a lot of you might be also thinking about your education and future job prospects. So if you're thinking about that, these are some of the industries I personally think, and not only I think, that it is based on the data in Indian market and also outside India market, are where a lot of jobs are coming. Yes, the application can be there in any field. I agree with whatever the prior panelists have said. But if I'm thinking about the current situation where the most of the jobs are coming in data science or analytics, definitely technology, e-commerce, that is a key field. Retail is another big field. So I got the opportunity to work for Target, which is a big retailer. And in retail, you have a lot of data, available to you. Finance always had a lot of data, and there is huge application. Future also will have more application probably. In other countries, you can see there are banks coming up which are fully digital bank. They have even more role of data analytics than probably the traditional banks. Also telecom, like your Airtel, Vodafone and all, and also pharma. And I think some of them discussed earlier that for COVID, for healthcare, and for disease and a lot of medical things, you can use a lot of data science. Now, we understand that data science is a big field, but within that there are a lot of different roles. It is not just one role. Yes, data scientist is one of the more popular ones, But those of you who might be interested in this kind of career opportunity, there are other roles also. So data scientist is a person who has to do a lot of different things. I'll discuss some of the skills probably in the later slide. But there are other roles. For example, you can think of business analyst, who is the person who understands the business part very well, may not be as advanced in terms of modeling or predictive or deep learning and advanced things, but they can support the business, understand the trends and patterns and all. So that can be a business analyst role. That can be somebody like a data analyst who focuses more on the data, maybe some bit of business, but not expert on business and may not develop a model. So that's like more data analyst kind of role. They might use things like SQL or database queries to get the data and all. There is also very important and a lot of roles on business intelligence. A lot of it includes, using visualization tools like Tableau, Power BI, etc., and presenting to business, creating visualization, automated dashboard, etc. And last, I will discuss something like a data or ML engineer, and that is becoming more prominent now that we have things like, big data and all. There's a lot of data. So data scientist mainly kindly is focusing probably on the model. He knows the overall things, but data engineer helps more on the getting the data, processing the data, implementing the model, and those kind of things. Okay, last but not the least, very important. If you are interested in data science, I think some of these things have been discussed earlier, but I would love to summarize those points. So first and most important thing is mathematics and statistics, because data science is basically more advanced and more powerful version of maths and stats. Without mathematics and statistics, there can be no data science. So if you're interested in data science, please try to learn mathematics and statistics. Doesn't mean that you have to do a formal course or degree, but as I think Mr. Sudeep also mentioned, that there are online courses also, Khan Academy and others, and there are Coursera, edX, etc. And a lot of shorter certification courses are also there. Is
so just to let you know that it's 8 minutes, so please.
Okay, I'm almost done. This is the last slide.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
So I think second, very important, computer science. So if you can do just math and stat, you can process probably 100 numbers, 10 numbers, very small set of data, yes. But if you want to do that at scale for huge amount of data, and also want to use more advanced things, then you have to use Python or R as a scripting tool or programming language, and SQL mainly to get the data and process the data. Third, very important is the domain knowledge or the business knowledge. If you are working the business, if you are working in other field like healthcare, agricultural, etc., knowledge of that domain. That will tell you what are the things that are important, what data to collect, how to process, and how to overall think about your model. And fourth, very important, since you have to work with a lot of different people in business and other fields, your communication also becomes important. You have to work in a team, and how to convey your insights or convince people that this is the right model or show the value of the model. Those areas will be very important. So those are the key skills that you need to develop. So yeah, that's what I have. I think we can probably go to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This has been incredibly good. Thank you so much. And with that, we are going to the next speaker, who is Mr. Charanpreet Singh.
You are on mute, Mr. Sengupta. You just want to.
Yeah. Thank you. Mr. Charanpreet Singh, welcome. And sir, may I request you to, while you are deliberating, take on some questions which are
let me finish this.
Streams to come into data science or.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll do that as I present. Yeah, I'll do that. And thanks, wonderful listening to everybody else. And
you have.
Yeah, I will just.
Thank you.
Do what everybody did, which is sharing my screen. And yeah, so readiness for tomorrow's careers, wait, let me just go back to where I started from. Yeah, tomorrow's tech and tomorrow's careers, that's who I am. And so why are we so obsessed with tech? We keep talking about tech, and why am I interested in tech? Because technology improves the quality of our lives. And it touches all our lives, right? So whatever we've seen as progress right through from when humankind starting with the fire, from discovering fire to the wheel, to supercomputers and quantum. I think tech has actually improved the quality of our lives. And this is what we mean when we talk of quality of life. You know, recreation, housing, health now becomes very important with COVID, and you know, our social cultural environment, school and education, everything. So everything gets improved because we use technology. So if you take a career in technology, you're actually doing service to humankind, because you're helping us improve the quality of lives of people around us. So I think you need to keep this big picture in your mind when you look at careers. What does tech really have to offer? So I thought about it, and I think it offers us speed, it offers us convenience, it offers us reliability, trust, it offers us access. We can reach remote areas. It offers us socializing, connectedness. You can, you know, talk to your alumni. I mean, a person as old as I am now connected to my school friends, and it offers you affordability. So as you know, the previous speakers had spoken, you know, the cost of data storage, the cost of data processing, the cost of electronic equipment, everything comes down, and we can access, enjoy, and do things effectively and conveniently at much lower costs. That's what tech does for us. And I think personally that tomorrow's tech has to address globally critical issues. It has to address climate change, which is the next big thing after the pandemic, I think. It has to address environment, health, anyway we are now sure of. Hunger across the world, we have to feed people, and the inequality that exists, which we talk about in webinars, but pretty much it has to be tech which has to drive somehow addressing this inequality, right? And I just wanted to mention, I think we don't have time, so I'm going to skip this, that 2 or 3 fascinating things, examples for students to look at. What kind of things would you like to do in future? You know, GPT-3, which everyone is talking about. So, you know, you write an essay and a machine writes an essay, and you can't figure out who's the human and who's the machine. Neuralink, where you can, you know, now control machines just by thinking. You don't even have to touch them. And finally, you know, biotech and genetics, where you can, you know, which I think with the pangolin and bat debate in COVID, we are seeing, you know, microbiotech and bioinformatics play out, right? So this is the kind of tech that's happening. So I think the next 5 or 10 years, our lives are going to change dramatically. And at its simplest, all of this means data and technology. See, this is where I wanted to come to. So whether you're doing Neuralink, whether you're doing, you know, GPT-3, it requires 175 billion parameters, right? So you have to actually handle that kind of data. So it all boils down to data and technology. So you look at the technology proficiency scales, you can go from a technophobe, somebody who's scared of technology, to a technophile, somebody who's obsessed with technology kind of. And you could be at any place between beginner and advanced, and you can still make a contribution, and you can still have a career, right? Similarly with data, you could start with data literacy, I understand numbers, to data familiarity, to data fluency, I'm good with numbers, to data leadership, where you lead data teams, right? So you don't have to be a data leader to have a career in this. You can be pretty much be somewhere in the middle, both in technology and data, but you have to be curious, you have to be a problem solver, and you have to be diligent, right? So what can we do with data? We can make it available. We can make it secure. I think Professor Ray talked about it, and we can analyze it to draw insights. So that gives you 3 careers straight away: data engineering, cybersecurity, and data science. These are the 3 programs we run as you know, as an addition to what we do in the PGDM, because we feel that these 3 careers are going to be very critical if we are going to go forward in this digital transformation. And if India is going to kind of be one of the leaders, we have to have skills in all 3 of these. If we don't have safe data, we can't go forward. If we can't make data available, and if we can't, you know, kind of manage and draw insights out of data, we get left behind. So these are the 3 careers that I think are extremely, you know, one is that they are very profitable. The other is they're going to be a lot of jobs there. And the third is, as I said, you'll be doing good to humankind if you get into these, right? So tomorrow's careers, what is the world that we have? We have a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. So we need people like you to be able to manage a world which is, I mean, uncertainty. I mean, who knew COVID is going to happen? Yeah. and volatile. Look at the oil prices and you'll know what volatility is. So how can we use technology and data to manage this world, right? So that's the other thing you have to remember. And finally, what do you do to be ready for tomorrow's careers? And this is something which I thought is as important as getting your hard skills in data and technology. I was speaking last, I knew everybody would talk about it. So I think you have to become very good learners, because anything you study is going to change very quickly. Okay, the same technologies are not going to be there 2 years from now, maybe 6 months from now. So you have to have the ability and the courage to learn quickly. I am an old man, right? So as I've grown older, the courage to learn goes down, because you don't want to, you don't want to learn, you don't want to be seen as somebody who doesn't know, right? But you have to have the courage to learn quickly on your own, and the ability and learn all your life. You have to be critical thinkers. You have to think about every problem from all directions. You have to improve your ability to think. If you can improve your ability to think, you can pretty much do any job anywhere. You have to be good communicators. I think both Dr. Ghosh and the person who spoke before him talked about communication. It's a very intrinsic skill. I think some of us have been called to this webinar because we can talk and address you. You need to be doing that 5 years from now. And the biggest thing about communication is listening. You should become good listeners. Listen and absorb, learn from others, learn by observation, ask right questions, don't take things for granted, be skeptical, question the data, question the technique, question the technology. Okay, there is no innovation if you don't question, right? And become effective collaborators, because you're not going to work in an island, you're going to work with people, you're going to work with people across the world. Working from home, it doesn't really matter where you are sitting. So you need to have the skills to work together with other people. You need to be able to embrace diversity, types of people, culturally, gender-wise, from religion-wise, doesn't really matter. And you need to work together with them. And you have to be a driver of transparency and integrity. With AI really driving everything, we have to make sure that AI is unbiased, AI is ethical, and yours is the generation that is going to drive that. So over and above the hard skills of data and technology that you must now acquire, please remember that these skills that I've put on these slides are at least as important, if not more important, to build careers in this and to take up leadership positions in future. So this is what I had to share actually with you. I'll be happy to. I wish we had more time for questions and answers. Thank you very much for listening to me and for listening to everybody else. Yeah, Mr. Sengupta, it's all yours.
Mr. Singh, thank you so much. Your specific examples on data transparency and data diversity and everything, it really clears the horizon for the question answer right now. And with all the esteemed panelists, they have been incredibly good in explaining what they have been doing these data related works. So with this, let us go into the question answer, please. And if I may, I will first direct these questions, which are mostly related to employment generation, related to change of disciplines, to Mr. Charanpreet Singh. There are at least 5 questions related to how can we get a job if we are not a data engineer or not an electronics engineer. So could you please answer that, sir?
Yeah, so I could, because I meet students like that every day of my life, and we started this program in 2011. So we've actually graduated some 21 batches already, quite 2 a year. So yeah, so you can actually, what we have come to believe now is that as long as you are, good with numbers, and as long as you're comfortable with technology, it doesn't really matter whether you are from computer science kind of a background or not, or whether you are an MSc in stats or not. Both of those are highly welcome. But those can be taught. So that's why you go ahead and get yourself an education in that. You could do a master's abroad in India. You could do programs like ours, which is full-time 9-month kind of a program, right? So those things can be taught. What cannot be taught is curiosity. What cannot be taught right from the beginning is problems, and the passion you have for problem solving. What cannot be taught is the attitude. So if you think that you like solving problems, sometimes in the interviews we ask, do you solve Sudoku? And if you do you give up easily or do you fight? Right. So if the answer is that I fight for that, then you're ready to be a data scientist, or you're ready to be any of these. Right. So I would say that don't worry about your background, as long as you're not bad with numbers, and as long as you are uncomfortable with technology. I think even that can be taken care of. It'll just take more time, but maybe you are suited to some other career. So, and transitions can be made. There are lots of ways. There's so much online stuff available. There are so many full-time programs. There are so many part-time programs for executives who can't leave their jobs, who are time poor. There is a lot of stuff in India and in the globe for you to add to what you have. If you like what we spoke about today, and if you want to be part of that world, yeah, we welcome you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And the next question is Dr. Arun Kumar Roy. Someone has asked specifically to Dr. Arun Kumar Roy that he's specializing in agriculture management. Is there something you suggest in your institute or wherever so that this agricultural management person can go into the data science?
Sir, exactly. We do not have right now such kind of course running in our university, but we are moving to e-platforms offering certain courses in coming days. So once we plan, we can always inform. If the concerned person writes to me, I can always inform later on. Thank you, sir.
Right. Okay. And the next question is, it is, I think, I will put it to Professor Ajay Kumar Roy. The question says that in the coming days, we are going to be intensely digital about our surrounding and everything. So probably it is in a right manner. And in the techno world, the population like us, that is the students and junior people, what they need to be doing in such context to be able to uplift their spirits and life in that context. Sir. Professor Ajay Kumar Roy, sir.
So this is a very good question, that what the students will do. I mean, under the circumstances, we have already entered into the digital era, and we cannot, I mean, there is no way you can deny the fact that we will be hard pushed to the digital era from now onwards in future as well. So my dear students, my request to you is, number one, to have the mentality to embrace this digital world. There should not be any rethink on that. And then, so far as your job prospects, etc. are concerned, you must be very passionate about this particular thing. First of all, you have to learn. And for learning, naturally, you have to undergo some courses. Merely, I mean, through the online courses also may not be, I mean, all that will be required. Because it's better that, okay, you do some courses, either some certificate courses or some diploma courses or some master's degree courses, etc. And then try to be in it and try to learn. Because as we said that in data science, there are, so many aspects of it. If you are interested, you can be a very good data security expert. So that cyber security is a very important area. If you want, you may be an expert in the IoT area. If you want, you can do specialization in machine learning and artificial intelligence area. If you want, you can work on big data, analytics area. All these are, again, interrelated. Remember that this is the world of interdisciplinary world where every discipline is interrelated with the other discipline. So you have to have a fairly good idea about all these different disciplines. As every speaker has spoken about, that this is not a difficult thing. The most important thing is that this is very pretty simple. And, as Sudeep was mentioning, that even with a very, I mean, even if you may be from any discipline. nowadays that partition between the disciplines also is now going to be almost zero. Gone are the days when you will be termed as an agriculture engineer, or he becomes a mechanical, this man is from electronics. So today's world, it has become all interdisciplinary. Any big project will need the specialization from all the disciplines. And these technologies anybody can do. All that you require is a mind which is a little bit analytic mind. That means a mind which can think and which can, give some kind of an innovative ideas. Lots of innovative ideas. There are lots of things which are yet to be done. From each one of them, hundreds of things are waiting for you to do it. So interesting things. And if you see that during this COVID time, so many young people have come up with such brilliant ideas. Even, simple microscopes. Microscope is not a simple thing. A microscope, it's very costly thing. Now people, even in MIT, in Stanford, I've seen that, okay, some of them, they have developed the microscopes. You can take them on any small pond and you can see the different kind of, the microbes which are there. So it's so easy. So have the passion to do it. And then you must be learning, because learning is most important thing. Without really learning, possibly it will be a little bit of difficult. And as everybody spoke about, that about say Python. At this age, when we started our studies, we started valve devices. When we were doing our BTech, we didn't know even much about, so transistors were just, coming to our syllabus. From that time, imagine the transistors, IC, LSI, VLSI, ultra large scale integration. We didn't have, I haven't even heard of microprocessor when I was doing my BTech. And then I had to teach microprocessor in 1980s in IIT Kharagpur. So at this age, in fact, I didn't know about Python. I have retired already from IIT Kharagpur last year. And then I started learning Python. It's so simple. And we were doing, you will be surprised, we were doing, our computer programming in Fortran. Imagine in one's lifetime, so many changes we had to undergo. So we didn't have any such, there was no concept of PC those days. We had a, a mainframe computer, and we had to write the programs on, it's very interesting, card, punching machines. We have to write each code on one card, and then the stack of card will be submitted. Imagine from that time onwards, there have been phenomenal developments. Now, how does one who didn't even know any of these things, even during his student days, how can he, cope up with all these changing scenarios and technologies? So I can tell you that all that you need is not only just the wishful thinking, but then put some hard labor. I can tell you there is no alternative to hard labor. You have to put up some kind of effort to learn it. And today, in internet era, everything is available. It's not only Khan Academy, even in NPTEL, those, if you just see those videos, you will find there are so many very interesting videos. So MOOCs have come in a big way. Coursera, you can just see them in your off time. And COVID has given us an opportunity that anytime you can learn anything. Now what is required is, if you have got queries or questions, what do? So then you have to ask the seniors, the people, the teachers who know about it. But then I would very much like that if ABP Education Group can make a group of all such students who can be connected students. We talked about connectedness, isn't it? Internet, what does it do? It connects all the people on earth. IoT is what does it do? It connects all the people, all the devices, all the gadgets, everything on earth. So it's known as Internet of Everything. So similarly, I mean, if we can get connected, all those who have registered for these courses, and then all the teachers, because there are, many other such programs are being held, and all the teachers and all the speakers, if they are connected, then you just connect to them, your own teachers. So the country needs more of connectivity. And remember that this era is also one of the features of this era is connectivity. So just ask us questions, do projects, ask questions. And you ask your teachers, you ask any of us that, okay, what are the kind of projects we can do? And I think we can suggest you so many, hundreds of projects. You start it. Now during the COVID era, you cannot do much because you cannot go out. But then even sitting at home also, you can do a lot of interesting projects. And learning the software, learning the programming languages, if you have got the will to learn, you will learn it. No problem. Obviously, you need a teacher for learning. So interestingly, don't worry about anything, just look forward. You should know that we are in the digital era, and most of the jobs that we will be having in the future will be digital in nature, and much of it will be in the area of data analytics or data science. As all the speakers, they have very rightly spoken about. Those, it is not only just the computer scientists or IT or maybe electronic students, but then students who have done their bachelor's degree or master's degree in any discipline can join. Now nobody can say that this is my discipline, you cannot enter into my discipline. No, nothing is nobody's discipline. So it's an interdisciplinary era, and as all the speakers have spoken, even I had seen it not today, in 1989-90. In England, I was talking to Mr. Sengupta. We had a long chat day before yesterday. I was invited to IBM Winchester in London. And then there, in Winchester, when I went, the head of their image processing group, I was working with that. He was an agricultural, master's degree holder and PhD in agriculture from some British university. He was a British person. So, I mean, those days in our country, we could not think about that an agricultural BTech or an agriculture, MTech, they were doing only agriculture, machinery, agro machinery, food, etc. But then even those days, I had seen that in the West, they have understood it long back, the interdisciplinary nature of our job and work. You need the expertise of your own area, but remember that you have to be connected, and through this connection, all the problems require the expertise of various people. And very bright days are coming. Do not be absolutely, disheartened. Remember that this is a dark patch which is going on, we are crossing through, but bright days will come. Always remember that, and those days are coming very near, and you will have plenty of opportunity. Initially, this period may look to be a little bit, dark, but then tomorrow will be very bright with sunny and happy days. And we all wish you very well, and do well, get connected. Any kind of problems you can ask us through, because all our, I think, emails are given by ABP Ananda, and ABP Ananda is doing a great job in organizing these programs. I must congratulate them. And all the panelists, those who are meeting today. So maybe that after this is over, we can have a small chat for 5 minutes.
Sure, sir. Sure. Okay.
Yeah. If you are free for some time. Mr. Sengupta already, and Sudeep, I think, has already, and Arun also has. Okay.
Yes, sir. We will definitely. Yeah, okay. So there are a few questions. So shall I go ahead with those?
Surely.
Yes, please. Yeah, let's
okay.
answer more questions.
Yes, please. Yeah, right. Okay. So there is this question which I would rather put to Dr. Anshuman Ghosh, that will GPT-3 kill coding in future? Would you like to answer that, sir?
Well, so I think that's an interesting question and very timely. First thing first, that like whatever you do, data science, machine learning, AI, at least till today, this time, I don't think anybody can certainly predict the future, right? Like we don't still have something which tells the future with, probability 1 or, 100%.
Right.
That's what the future will be. The way I see it, yes, we have advanced a lot, and GPT-3 is a very advanced program in terms of, natural language processing. That is, processing text. And when you talk about code is also a form of text, right? It's a language of the computers. We are speaking in English, we in West Bengal speak in Bangla, and in coding we speak in the language of computer, which is also a language, right? So some of the part which are very routine, right, and very repetitive, some of those part I think can be automated. For example, if you want to create a HTML button or a chart or small things, some of those things can be automated. You can give a voice or text command and that can be generated. However, when you need something novel or you want to create some complex algorithm to solve a problem, then I don't think any existing algorithm can solve it right ahead. Because in my experience, when you study, Charanpreet sir is there, Ajay sir is there, so we teach this is the model you should use if the data is like this. So I also did a lot of courses and studied all those models. But when I started working in corporate, when you have a problem, yes, some of the part might be similar, but you might need to innovate, and you might need to do a lot of things, which is, for example, we discussed about communication, understanding the business, ultimately convince the people, evaluating the model. So I think a lot of it cannot be automated, but yes, some part of it which is repetitive and simple, I think yes, those part can be automated, and that I think will make the data scientists more powerful, and you can spend your time doing something more creative or more advanced, doing more research and all those things. So I don't think these jobs will go, but yes, exact composition and the skills might change, and we have to upgrade, as all of you have said, and learn those new things and adapt. But I don't think, at least in foreseeable future, within next 5 to 10 years, I don't think that data science or programming can become obsolete because of GPT-3. And I personally think it is very good, but still little bit, overhyped. Yeah, so that's my opinion on that.
Thank you very much, sir. And there is 2 more questions which we would like to be answered. One is to Mr. Sudeep Majumdar, that how can one really learn cybersecurity and ML both? So would you like to answer that, sir? Whether it should be related, whether it should be required at all, or if one wishes to do that, how can one do that?
Sudipta, your microphone is mute probably.
Anshuman, I don't have any ideas about real knowledge on the cybersecurity part of it, right? I can do a lot on the ML side, so maybe you can take it. Or Professor Orun can take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anyone wants to take it, please take it, else I can take it.
Yeah, I can also take it.
Yeah, please, Sharon, please.
Sir, please. Yeah.
What is the question?
The question is if anyone wants to understand and learn cybersecurity and ML both. How do we learn both? That is the question, basically.
Because both are both can be learned, because in any data science course, both are integral parts of any course on data science. Because and cybersecurity, for learning it, both for machine learning and cybersecurity, one of the common grounds is that one must know more about statistics. So little bit, mathematics and statistics will be, because in the cryptography, you need to know a lot about number theory, a lot about statistics, and these are all very interesting and easy. This is one thing I am repeatedly telling to all the panel or to all the students. So cyber security is a very interesting kind of and very important kind of area. So you have to know about how the hacker can hack your entire domain of systems and how to take care of that. So out of which this cryptography is a major thing. It means how you can encrypt your signal or your message using various kinds of algorithms so that only the receiver should get it. And then if some kind of a hacker wants to steal your data, they will not be able to do it. So it's an interesting thing which can be definitely learned. And ML is also one area where you need to know the, little bit of mathematics, you need to know the statistics, you need to know the linear algebra. Now, for any course you do in data science or in these areas, you will be knowing because the kind of mathematics which will be required will be taught there. So initially, even if you want to learn, please learn as every speaker, Sudeep also has talked about, and every speaker has talked about, Anshuman, that you must study on your own, at least a bit. I do not know whether in our university statistics now is a compulsory subject or not, but if not, please learn statistics because that will be very, very handy. And also please learn a little bit about matrix algebra because in today's world to understand it in mathematical sense, you need to know a little bit about linear algebra, a little bit about mathematics. So these are the things you can study and then everything will be very easy, very easy.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Professor, you explained it very well. I'll just probably add a very small pointer to that. So based on what we discussed that, yeah, there are some core technical skills like computer science or Professor is saying statistics, mathematics. And I also discussed in my presentation that there is something called a domain or business understanding. So this question I think has two parts. One is ML. So ML is more of a technical part, right? So using machines to learn and implement some algorithm. That you can, it is domain agnostic. So machine learning you can use in any domain. You can learn a classification or regression, apply in agriculture, cyber security, technology, database, whatever field. Cyber security is one of the domains, right? So it is one area where security of the computer system and internet is more important. So I think, yes, you can learn both, but both of them are like huge topics in itself. In case you want to focus, probably the cyber security expert can know little bit of ML, but know more about that domain and help the data scientist to develop the model, not do everything on his own. Whereas an ML expert within cyber security can do more on the coding or algorithm side, but may not be expert about everything about cyber security. So you might either think of, specializing in either of those two, but yes, if you can learn both and become expert in both, that's definitely better.
Agree with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What I would like to say is that we have more or less covered the questions wherever, these questions were posted in the Q&A sections, more or less. And therefore, I would like everybody's permission to go ahead and wrap up the session. And before doing that, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all the esteemed panelists. I have learned a lot today, and to ABP Education, of course. Now, before closing it up, if I'm allowed to say a few words, I would like to say that there are three things that I have seen having been emerged from what the panelists say. Number one is the emergence of technologies, which is very evident. Technologies are emerging, they're getting innovated every day, and they're changing like anything. So naturally from that, what comes into picture for the students and for the all sorts of aspiring professionals is that you will probably have to treat yourself as the ever-ready learners. In other words, updatable softwares, if I may say that particular word. So a software, as it always gets updated whenever something new comes on the market. I would rather say that is the best simile for us to be able to keep up with the market in future. There is one other thing that Professor Ajoy Rai has said very nicely, that nothing is anybody's discipline these days, which basically is the core of what we call these days the permeability of knowledge. There are several domains and spaces of knowledge. Now, we are actually designed to think in terms of specific verticals of knowledge, in terms of degree and qualification. But let me tell you that those degrees and qualifications, of course, they do matter, but that's not the final thing. If you can show something that you can do very well with a very good understanding, even if you are not from that discipline, globally, you have a chance to stand on that. You have a leg to stand on. You have opportunities. And with the prevailing situation, with the online opening up, we have these global situation at our hand. The global scenario is with you. People are there who you can reach out to for possible, employments and opportunities. And they will be very happy to really give you a chance if they think that you are worth it. So basically, learning is the most important thing. And, I would just like to say one very ancient name, not very ancient, medieval name, Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo was an engineer. He was also an artist. But the point is, if you really get into his codex, that is his diary, you will see the kind of in-depth knowledge he had in physics, mathematics, dimensions, and similarly in painting and social sciences. So basically, what I'm trying to say over here is that the permeability knowledge and the permeability of knowledge and the cross-discipline attitude, that is something which will have to be coming into all of your minds. And that is what is going to help you out in getting an excellent opportunity in the field that you love. With one last example, I'm just going to finish this particular session. I am more from the application side of data. I am a business consultant and an academician. Now, someone in the question answer asked this question, that what about marketing and digital marketing and stuff like that. Now, if you think about all the speakers said, that is, all this technology, everything is aimed at providing us, the human beings, an excellent lifestyle and innovative and peaceful lifestyle, good life, and that's all. In other words, which Mr. Majumdar was mentioning as customer experience. If we think ourselves as customers, then our experience is what matters to all the business concerns who are going to give us these experiences through their products, through their services. And when I say business concerns, don't make a mistake. I am including all the government bodies in that as well, because they are doing some sort of business with you, and they are a business entity as far as I'm concerned, I can tell you. So whenever any organization, so to say, is dealing with the humankind, they are actually depending on being able to reach them precisely, correctly, and in a very targeted way. In earlier days, we used to do marketing, as I say, to a big segment of 10,000 people, for example. Today, that segment can go down to one person if I know perfectly well what the person wants. And I have many ways to know that. For example, each of you has put on your mobile phone in the morning if you haven't kept it 24/7 on. So at every second, these things are generating data, and they're coming to me if I am a service provider to you as a business organization. And I am going to analyze these data. Now, how am I going to do this? I need data engineers, but not only data engineers. Suppose I'm giving you some service and I want to know how you're liking this service. possibly I might even capture your emojis and analyze them. Now, a data engineer would not, or rather may not know how exactly analyze the emojis. So in that case, they might need help from other disciplines like social sciences, or even from students from languages. I have seen many people, even from graphic, working in Microsoft in Cambridge, because they are designing UIs, that is user interfaces. They are not doing the data thing, but they have actually, learned the data thing, and they are working in team with data engineers. So what I am essentially trying to say is that if you really stop thinking about what my past subject was and what subject I'm going to do, what qualification I'm going to do, instead, if you go on learning through MOOCs, through Coursera, through whatever, there are plenty of resources these days, and really apply yourself into it, you will be a very successful professional in whatever field you chose to go for. So I have seen my, well, let me say this, my own daughter used to study English, history, chemistry, and mathematics in class 2 level in England, of course. So those things are allowed here. As Professor Rai has said, they have done it since ages. Now then she transferred herself into applied geology, and now she is working in predictive climate modeling. So that's possible. A student from history has gone into these interfaces. So it's very much possible, and the whole world is actually encouraging people to do it. So review your mindset and just go for learning for these emerging technologies and do whatever you like. So with that, I extend my best wishes to all the participants. My thanks to all the esteemed panelists, and thanks to ABP for letting us have this session. Thank you very much. Over to ABP Education.
Thank you to all the panelists. We will now close the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.